Hello, this is COP UK Radio. We do apologize for the delay. My name is Tracy Minta, and you're tuned into COP UK Radio on the Community Welfare Matters segment. I've got here with me Madam Dorothy, Kare, and Uncle Sam. Welcome back. We did miss you all, and we're glad to be back again. And our topic for today is we're asking the question, what constitutes neglectful parenting? As I said before, thank you for joining us, and call somebody to tell somebody that the great group are back, and let's join in to have our discussions. Quite interesting, actually, so stay tuned. I'll just invite us all to just try and start discussing the topic, which is neglectful parenting. What does the layman see as neglectful? In our own community, for example, what do they see as neglectful? For me, I think that in our community, we do brush over so many things. Not many people see things that are neglectful as neglect. So if I say that this is neglectful to a parent, they probably think I'm going overboard, or I'm just being too much or too known or something like that. So maybe you give such opportunity just to have a look at examples of things that people brush over and don't see as neglect and all of that.
I mean, Uncle Sam will give you the official definition, but I'm just thinking that if we are thinking about neglect, from a layman's term, I think the child that is not shown any love or any affection. Yeah?
Even from the time that we were growing up, if we look at it from the time that we were growing up, things that when we reflect, we think is neglect. What are some of the things that we thought?
And sometimes the child, not just the love, when we are talking about that, someone can, and is it Wednesday or something like that? I was listening to someone who said that when they were living with someone and the person would deliberately not cook the food the time that he will get some to eat. He will make sure that he's going to school. So he will make sure that, and the school starts at 9 o'clock. So breakfast starts at 9:15.
Jeez.
So that he can't wait for the food to be finished. So he will have to go to school without eating at all. And that is neglect, because you are living with a child, you are sending that child to school with no food at all. And you, as an adult, you are going to sit home and eat and deliberately.
And don't you think that happens mostly amongst, it actually happens from parents, step-parents.
Step-parents, yes.
Step-parents a lot. It happens in our community a lot where people are step-parents. And I think they transfer all their anger from the anger against the father to the children, the stepchild. I know that I used to live with my stepdad, my stepmother, and things that I sit down and reflect on now, it makes me really think, gosh, I was really abused in so many ways. For example, my brother, we will be watching, it's time in the evening to watch TV, right? This is my father's house, and we're ready to watch TV. But then my stepmother's daughter is able to sit in the sitting room, right? And then her grandchildren are able to sit in the sitting room, but we have to stand behind the window outside to peep through the window. And this is our father's house. And she has only one child, and I've got me. It was me, my brother, and my sister. But my sister didn't live with us, so it's just me and my brother. And I became very rebellious, and I fought my stepmother so much so that I will go in there and wash. But my brother was afraid to go, so he'll be left outside. And I just disturbed everybody. Nobody's watching TV. Me and my brother are not watching. So I think when we get to effect as well, we will talk about we will talk about how it impacts on children, because I think I went through so many of those, and so many young people go through today as well. And we can only look at when we were growing up, even Ghana as well. A child will be going to school, no paper, no pen, nothing.
Nothing. And here, for instance, apart from this food, there are some children that you can see, some parents say that, oh, when we were growing up in Ghana or whatever in the African continent they come from, oh, we didn't have so many shoes. So the child's clothing, sometimes here, even when you go to Asda or whatever,
how much is shoes?
Buy shoes and buy school uniform.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see these children and the way that they are dressed.
Yeah.
And the way that they look.
Yeah.
It makes you think that this is neglect.
Yeah.
And some children may have a black child. And I know that our hair is very, very coarse. And it takes time to look after that hair.
Yeah, that's
and sometimes we just leave them to go to school, then they are teased. Instead of you brushing up that child's hair. I, for one, as an adult, I don't like combing my hair. So a child may not like it, but there's a way of you doing it so that their hair will be looked tidy.
Auntie, you're so right. I remember when I'm going on the bus, even here on the bus in the morning to go to work, I will see this child, this woman is a Nigerian woman with her daughter, and this child's hair, and she's in secondary school. The hair is so messy, and me and another Nigerian woman will be sitting there, and we'll be saying, this is abuse, because you're leaving the child, you're opening the child up for bullying. And people will laugh at her when she gets to school, because the child's hair was so neglected, so dirty. It was so unfair. What are you going through so much that you can't get this child's hair, even plaited? Take time for this child. And
everyone who's had a child in this country, even when you don't know how to plait, once you had a daughter, you learn how to plait one way or the other.
I still don't know how to plait, believe me.
Some horrible things over their heads, and then until they grow up and they know the sense. And say, well, I'll go to the hairdresser. I want my hair done in the hairdresser. And sometimes it's not that the clothes are dirty, but this child wears a man's clothing instead of all the other children in the family will be wearing their own size clothing, or even if it's one size bigger, but that child will be wearing passed down bigger things. And
in Ghana, you mean?
Here. I have seen a child who is going to school, who is wearing clothes like he's wearing his father's clothes.
Oh, jeez.
And I, being so nosy, tried to find out, because he was walking with these three other children who they look similar in a way. And I said, "Oh, is that your friend?" He said, "Oh, that's my
brother, my half brother."
And then corrected himself and said, "My half brother." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting," because you could see that
you could see the difference.
Difference. So neglect is one of those things that transcends everything that we're doing, because. And sometimes here in this country, for me, I think we are neglectful, even the way that we leave children at home to go shopping, when you know that child shouldn't be left alone. The child is under the age of 13 or 13, and you are leaving that child to look after other siblings who are 8 and 7 and 6, and say, oh, he or she is old enough. And you are not taking the child's age and how the child is able to look after those younger ones, because your back is turned and the 9-year-old strike a fight with the 13-year-old. Then you know then there's trouble in the house. So some child is kind of excluded. At the time that you come back, that child is miserable, and you are neglecting those children. Even though you may come back and buy them everything, whatever, you are still being neglectful. So neglect is one of those things that if we want to break them down, we will be here forever.
So let's look at how neglect is defined in law in this country.
I think some of the things we talked about comes in. It talks about neglect involves the persistent failure to meet a child's basic physical and or psychological needs, likely to result in a serious impairment of the child's health and development. So you hear about persistent failure, or others who talk about ongoing failure to meet the child's basic needs. So all the things we have been talking about are basic needs. Yeah.
Or lack of responsiveness. Yeah.
Because it's not about money. It's about your own issues you are passing on to a child. It will not take you anything to plan it and to do it for the child. But sometimes it reflects on you as a parent. So we're talking about neglectful parenting. So you not doing your duty, you not being responsive, makes the child neglectful. And as we talked about, the impact, other going to school, a child who's not being fed, the impact is maybe going to school, not be able to study, a child whose maybe medical needs are not met for whatever reasons, means the child is going to be failed to thrive. So sometimes it's about the parent's responsibility, and there may be underlying factors why the parent might be neglectful. But generally, once the basic needs are not met, more so young children who are not. Because if they are teenagers or something, as you talk, in your situation, the example you gave, you became rebellious because you could fight back. But what about
you wait? You wait. That's why, I mean, when you come to the effects, you will notice that neglect is long. It has long and short term effects on children. And also, whilst we're talking about the definition, it also says that neglect, a child who's suffering neglect suffers other things as well, all forms of abuse, emotional abuse, and the lot. You know, the child who suffers that will suffer all of these things. So it does have long-term effects and short-term effects on the child. So let's look at the types of neglect then that we have. We have got I've got with me physical neglect, medical neglect, educational neglect, and so on and so forth. So let's look at physical neglect. What are some of the things that what some of the examples that we can see and really translate as physical neglect of a child?
Physical neglect, we talked about some, because not giving someone food to eat will be physical. The way they look after themselves, not having the right clothing, especially in this country, in this cold weather. If that child doesn't have the right coat to wear in the cold weather and they are cold, it is a physical thing that is happening to that child. If that shoes is not good enough to for that child to walk in the cold weather, that is a physical neglect. And we are talking about not showing affection, because one thing is that yes, we will look at why or how some parents, but there's something that was very, very stated very clearly the last time we had this forum with parents and young people. One young lady stood up and said, I don't know what is wrong with Ghanaian parents. They lack affection. Yeah? So, and I mean, I was shocked, but on the other hand too, I could understand why she was saying that. And I think there is something about us not being affectionate that makes it so neglectful. And children, because if that child doesn't think that they are loved, then it affects everything that they do. It has knock-on effect on whatever, because emotionally it doesn't make them strong, because they don't know who they are. They don't have a strong background. They don't have a strong love behind them. And they fail emotionally. Physically, you will see a neglectful child who can be malnourished or may not have their whatever health needs met. They can the education needs met. So it will affect them in so many ways. And so it's one of those things that, and like you said before, that we can brush it aside and say, oh, well, you are being too much. Oh, it's only this. But it's those little things that we do or don't do that affect someone's life. And the short term, if it's remedied in the short term and corrected, but otherwise it becomes something like a mark in that person's life that tarnishes that person's life forever, because you have got some adults who will say to you that I wake up in the middle of night full of cold sweat and crying and thinking, how come my mother or my dad doesn't love me, did not love me, even though they've grown up, they are in their own relationships. And because of the neglect, they are not being able to. I
think that counts. We have a lot typical examples for that. But in terms of the neglect, I think that also this neglect issue is stems from culture as well. From culture, the way we see things, people just brush over things. If, for example, a child wakes up in the morning, a child is expected to take an adult responsibility, like looking after the younger siblings. It is our culture that we look after the older children will look after the younger children, and sometimes in doing so, the older child's education, it's time immemorial. Where I remember my mom had to stop education so that her other siblings could go to school, and then she had to teach herself how to read or write and stuff like that, and she used to tell us all of that. So sometimes culture stands in the way, because when you looking at causes for neglectful parenting, it is a vast topic, as you say. It's very big and it's contentious, because different cultures see things differently. So one culture will see a child being left at home as nothing, whereas here it's not like that. You have to really look at. There's no law to say don't leave your child at home. However, if you leave your child at home and anything happens, you're in deep trouble. And I remember we've done it here before. We've discussed it here before.
I think also going back on this issue about physical neglect. Sometimes failing to
adequately supervision.
And all that, because now with mobile phone and all that, you see somebody with a child dragging the pusher, and then the phone is this one, the child is that one.
Oh, uncle, that last time.
And sometimes it's like you are driving and you realize that the child is going to press the thing, and the mother or the dad is on the phone and loud talking, and it's like you are going to the road. Which one is a priority? And you could see it in your face. Nobody tells you. So anything happens, or sometimes where you have to put a proper stair gate. You know the age of your children. You have children who are really boisterous. They run away. They got energy. You haven't put it appropriate. And when they fall,
you have money to buy shoes, but you won't buy the stair gate.
Or you're not putting it there. Because of children in the house, when you have things which are pointed like this table, and you have children who can run and hit it, it's your responsibility. You have to find things and put at the corner. Because sometimes it is a risk assessment in the house where other conscious or unconscious people are doing it. You got a knife is there, or the kettle is at the edge of the table. So a child who is going to put in something, or some of our children, even the kitchen, they go in there and somebody does the food. I'm hungry. They put the child there.
They climb the wall. The child, a 5-year-old will take the stool. I've got a mother who just goes. The child comes from school. He runs to the kitchen and he will put the stool there, and he will climb on the stool and go and open the drawers to make himself conflicts, make himself this. And the child is so boisterous, and in that process, he slips and falls down. Why? Oh, he can get his own conflicts. No, he will fall and hurt himself. And how are you going to explain yourself?
But I think sometimes, I don't know whether no, it wasn't here. I was saying it. I came to. There was one evening I was coming to church, and this uncle, you talking about people on the phone. These two women were talking, and he had an 8-year-old boy who, while we were standing, decided to climb the railings into someone's house. And sometimes in this country, people are also, I would say, wicked or whatever. For me, if a child has scaled in on this high wall and jump down my wall, and I can see the child, and I know the gate is locked, I will come and shout at the child. I will open the gate. The woman peeped through the window. I could see her peep through the window,
and she just closed it.
And the boy clamped again.
She's just waiting for the boy to harm himself,
and then jumped down. And the way that he jumped down, my heart. So I turned around and I said to the mother that, listen, I've been here, standing here with you for 15 minutes. Whatever this boy has done, you've never even turned because you are conversing with your friend. Which one is so important, your child or this conversation that you can have another time? She has got her 2 children, and she has got one in a pushchair, the one she was talking to. The other one who is walking, she's got this chain or a belt.
Harness for the children,
for the child. She was holding onto that child. You have left yours climbing up and down, and whatever. And I said to her that I said, listen, that child jumping up there to thank God that nothing has happened to him, because sometimes you people don't know. You are waiting till him get injured, and then you call the ambulance. Then the ambulance is late. Then you go to the hospital, and then you got a cheek to go to the newspaper and say, when I went to the hospital, the nurses didn't pay any attention.
Or the ambulance was late.
Or the ambulance was late, or whatever.
You could have prevented that.
Oh, she called the boy. Oh, you are letting this woman tell me off. But I was so lucky. There was 2 other white women, because this is a white young woman. And the other woman said that, I'm glad that this woman is saying that, but I'm going to tell you what. I am ready to call the authorities, because if this child had, when he jumped down, if he had cried, I was ready. Says, listen, I was going to ring the authorities to come and remove this child, because you are not fit to be a mother. You are talking, and this is by the bus stop. The cars passing. That boy was jumping, doing everything. The parent didn't turn around at all. Right?
It's the same thing. I had a mother, the same thing. She had a child, and then she was just on the phone. Doing texting, pushing the other one, and this very same boisterous child was just talking, was just running, crossing the road back and forth. And I said, well, excuse me, you need to focus on your child. You need to stop looking at the phone and focus on your child. And, she was just there, oblivious of what was going on around her, just focusing on the phone. And that's the lack of supervision you're talking about.
Yeah. Because sometimes the danger of some of these parents is that one of the things of parenting is that we know our children, and that's the giving. So you have a child who's got energy, a child who, once you leave them, you're going. So you have to find a way, because once you leave the child, like the way this time, the way people drive, and the way these cars or maybe a dog or other animals walking around, the child just going, and sometimes you could see that, especially when you are going to the cross. And they allow the children to go and press. And some of the children, when the car, when they see it's, then we see shouting at the distance and say, "Don't cross!" But you have to.
You need to hold your child's hands,
because some of the children, some of these accidents just happen because something has happened. Somebody, maybe it could be a wheelchair user.
Because you don't even know if the car is going to stop or not. There are crazy drivers out there.
One time there was this parent who was a father and mother, plus 3 children. They got on the bus and left 1 child behind.
Can you imagine?
So who was looking after who? Because that's what you plan. As if you are going and you are many.
They left 1 child behind.
You take that.
And the bus left. I was going to Lakeside. They got on, left. So here I was, and
holding on to the child.
The next bus that came, and I told the driver that the bus that left, this is the boy. It's now that the boy has come back and looking for his parents.
Because he was running around.
And they were keeping an eye.
Looking for his parents. And now, I never knew that when things like that happen, because I told this driver, he said, oh, and I said, what is going to happen? Because this boy is here. I want to go and mind my own business, but I can't leave this child. And he says, oh, we will tell the bus
driver, he has to phone the other bus driver.
Phone the bus driver. The bus driver will have to get everyone out of that bus. You see the nonsense? And then the next bus that will come here will have to get everyone down, take the boy to meet the parents before the next bus comes and pick the other people.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine the
inconvenience that incident alone and that neglectful act will cause everybody?
I mean, by the time
you were unresponsive, you were not keeping an eye, you were not. Lack of supervision has led to all this, and it's about, because with children, especially with parents out there, now that we are half term, these are the things.
Be careful. Children have started dying. Man, yesterday, a 6-year-old was swimming and the child has died. Where were the parents? I was saying, well, I'm not here to criticize anybody, but the true white is white and black is black. How did that child, what was it the child doing? Swimming on their own or whatever. Even if your child is an expert swimmer or Olympic swimmer, you still don't leave that child. What was happening? I was sitting there and shouting at the TV.
And I thought that is what is happening. Because, I mean, for me, I said to the bus driver that, the child has been left here. And I don't care you're calling whatever, but I still have to report this because the child.
Yeah, you have to report. Of course.
The child has been left, so I have to report it. And he was, I understand. You have to. I said, I have to report it because the child's been left by himself, and the child was about 7 or 8 years old, whatever. And I said, well, I have to report. Bus and
then once you're going, they will be asking, where is this boy? Where is the child? Where is their name?
No, but the point is, did they look? How can you get on a bus? Because without checking. Without checking that your children are on the bus as well. So at the moment, our phones are more important than our children. There are parents who are in the house.
They chat with friends.
They are chatting with their friends. A child has got bent. That child was trying to get the kettle out and then him full thickness bend all on his chest because the kettle just rolled on him. And the mother was in the house. The mother was on the phone talking to his friend or texting or whatever.
Small things like even if you're cooking and you put the food on the cooker, for example, try and put the if you know you have a little child in the house, put the saucepan at the back plate, not on the front plate.
The handle.
In the handle.
You turn it that way.
Exactly.
Because with children, especially, that's what I'm saying, that when you have young children or even when you have visitors and children, you know how some of them react. Within 5 minutes.
It's so fast.
Children, once they come there, I can do the assessment straight away to look at what, because there are some children you see they just run into your house. They go there. Can I go in the fridge? And
they just go into the fridge.
Straight away because because some of this kitchen you just rush into it.
This open
plan kitchen. Yes.
And the last thing you want is you got visitors or somebody children and something's happened in your house. So. It's about
even if a glass breaks, the glass can cut your child. So it's more of being more aware of being more vigilant of things. For example, even the plugs. You will see that the child will be running out. They will be pushing things in the plugs, and the parents won't say anything. They can he's very. I know one parent said, he's very clever. He knows how to do electronic stuff, pushing things inside the plug, and not turning it off. These are all neglectful things.
And I mean, for me, I think talking about children, the space in our houses are too small. And children have got energy, they've got to run. And therefore, when they go out there, that is the space that they have got. And they will be running. You see, they will want to run. So you, the parent, need to keep an eye on them. You can't just assume that, the child will be okay. You don't know who is out there, right? Apart from maybe someone grabbing them, they could come to some other car hitting them, a dog biting them. Who knows? Anything could happen to your child. So one moment when you are going out so happy will end up being a sad
coming home without your child. Can you imagine?
A tragic event for you. And you're always saying to parents that, you're talking about this electric plugs and whatnot. For me, once you have a child, when the child starts crawling,
toddler, when the child becomes
to start looking at it. And I always say to parents that, listen, what you have to do is you have to crawl on your hands and knees like a child and look at all the things that you see can be dangerous for your child. Because the common nice tablecloth can be a danger to a toddler. Because that toddler thinks that thing is a solid thing they can hold on.
So they'll pull it.
So they'll pull it. So anything on it will fall on top of that child's head. So you look at those things and you need to now your beautiful tablecloth, you can't let it be hanging so that the child can just grab it. There are so many things that we need to be looking at
around the house,
around the house to make that child. And sometimes I feel that we are talking about the physical though, but I'm just talking about, I have seen parents who have taken their child to see their doctor. The doctor has prescribed medicine for you, and the doctor says it's for 7 days. And then you decide that, oh, the child has soft coughing, so after 2 days, it's soft coughing. So,
and if it's antibiotics.
Yeah, and this is antibiotics.
It doesn't work.
So it doesn't work that way. So the next time the child goes, they give them antibiotics. The child is very resistant. And then next time they prescribe them antibiotics, it doesn't work. You know, so we need everything that we need to think about. What am I doing? Am I harming my child in a roundabout way or not? And there are some parents too who don't care. Even when the child has just walked in this heat and come back and they feel a little bit warm, they have to give them Calpol. And that is also not good because you are poisoning that child's kidney.
You're going to my medical medical neglect.
So the two you've said about the...
Let's keep that in the box for 1 minute.
No, but I think you can link it in.
You can link it, but I wanted to say something about the physical neglect as well. Right. In terms of also looking at who you leave your child with. That's also physical neglect, isn't it?
Because and then you want the cheap.
Child care issues. Who you leave your child with? Are you leaving your child with a safe adult or an unsafe adult? And then the other thing also is like leaving things around the house, unsafe things around the house, alcohol bottles. Things, any bottle, even medication, medicine bottles and stuff like that. All those things, the child can just, stretch or pick it up accidentally and drink things, not closing the drawers, the cabinet, the, what's it called? The flash and the fairy liquids and things like that. The child will just pick it up and then drink it. You know, so depending on the age of the child, then you have all of those things.
And also of this same issue, sometimes there are teenagers. We go to a house or we work with some of these teenagers and we hear, oh, they are becoming suicidal. So knives, things like things.
They
some of them are going to bring a bleach. Somebody I saw the other day, 17-year-old, the girlfriend is saying, so he's going to kill himself. So the first sarcastic question I ask is, how are you going to do it? I'm going to kill myself. And sometimes you have to kind of get into the. And he started laughing, and I said, look, this is a serious thing. This killing yourself. Sometimes you say it and people are forgotten. I said, I want to know so that we can plan how you do it and support you. And he was laughing. But what am I saying? Because these are the children who's got his own issues. And so you are adults, we are talking about a care system. You have to kind of put in a plan. You are not putting things like things he can get in and drink or things he can use to stab himself. If you want to go and find somewhere and do it outside, that one you cannot prevent. But people are like risk assessment around them.
But that, I mean, talking about it, I mean, I think with teenagers, for instance, I always say to people that young children in primary school have got parents. But teenagers don't. Why am I saying that? As soon as they get to secondary school, we assume that they are grown. A lot of things that we used to spend time with them, we stop doing that. So the child now start to find their way. You find friendships and talking to their friends. Talking to other people. And sometimes that is the issue. We do not sit and say, how was your day? School. And I say that, well, I know we are all very busy. But at least you can have time where you can say to your child that, listen, even if it's the 1 hour that you have go at home, that you have to cook and you have to clean, let the child help you whilst you are having that conversation. Because what happens is that some of these children who end up cutting themselves or drinking bleach or whatever, when you delve down, you drill down, some of them said, I tried to talk to my parents.
They were not listening.
They were not listening. Sometimes the child that doesn't actually talk to you when they come standing behind you because they know you are busy, that is why, and they stand behind you and say, oh, I want to talk. As a parent,
you got to join the queue, see the queues.
You have to see the queue and say that, oh, so-and-so doesn't often say,
For her to say that, then there's something wrong. You have to drop everything.
Let me drop something and go and do that. So that food, you can turn the cooker off. It doesn't matter. If you are late, and listen to that child. You know, a lot of children these days, young people, when they get to teenage, they become more emotional than when they were little. So you will find a child who was never emotional, all of a sudden has become very, very emotional. Everything you say upsets them. Everything you say is too much. Whatever.
You're bothering me,
You're bothering me. Oh, how come you don't understand? You never understand. You don't listen to me. Oh, and some of them, why was I born? You don't even.
I wish I wasn't born. I wish I wasn't here.
You know?
So the one next answer coming. They're giving you. I wish I wasn't born. You know that. And
I just want to die.
I was talking to a couple of parents this half term, and if somebody said something, the child's a teenager's phone went. I think he smashed it or something happened. So the teenager borrowed the
so we are going into the emotional bit then. Now let's just slip into the emotional neglect bit.
Then the mother realized that the child has put Snapchat on her. They downloaded it. So he was doing it and talking about not listening to the kids. I think because he missed his phone, he wanted to tell her friends or his friends, kind of not saying too much about certain things. And the mother was upset because he's downloaded the thing and all that. Because all that the child wanted is that because he can when they gave her a message, he cannot have it. So he's telling them that at the moment so and so and the person was upset. So I was talking about it and I said, how are you going to do? Are you going to sort this phone for or he smashed and all that? I said, right, maybe you have to find a way of but with children, with teenagers, they're at home. This was at the peak of this weather, right? Where things were flying out and all that. And I could see tension coming up. And I know that some of the people we work with, if you can anticipate and prevent it, because in 2 hours' time, you'll be called in because something has happened, and you are going to deal with it. So when I went in, I said, look, I know it's half term. There are 6 of you. 2 have gone somewhere to support about it. And at least the person was doing very well. So not being neglectful. All that I was suggesting is that those who are having the challenging ones. So you have to draw your plan and be smart ahead of them. This phone thing, if you don't resolve, is going to be
a big issue.
This issue about Snapchat, you don't have to be so upset about it. It's not a big issue.
It's not a big issue.
Sometimes
we become too strict.
But if you don't resolve it, you know how this child, the ADHD and the autism, the way it's going to happen. So you sort that one out. And she was, initially it was like, I'm telling her what to do. But later when I went to the office and I phoned, it was self. What am I saying? I'm saying that parents this time, you know your children. There are certain things you got to be flexible. There are certain things you got to be so that you are parenting. It's not like you are being so strict that it's going to backfire on you. Because I know that there were things these children were going to do and there were tension there. The mother has not been able to tell them. The counselors were coming in and there were tension there. And I could see this child was tense. Why the mom keeping them there, the person is coming. I don't want to go in too much because but what I'm saying is that parents need to do risk assessment so that it doesn't become neglectful. And sometimes you got to tone things down so that yes, it's your phone, the person has downloaded this thing. Once they get their phone back, you can delete it if you don't need it. But you don't I don't know how to use this Snapchat. So if it's on my phone, it will not bother me. But what I was saying is that the person was making it so a big deal, and it could lead to emotional stuff.
And I think that happens a lot in our community as well. He says failing to meet a child's needs for nurture and stimulation, perhaps by ignoring them, humiliating them, intimidating or isolating them. And that's the emotional neglect aspect.
A parent will say to you that, when the child doesn't, I stop talking to the child for more than 3 or whatever they do. Why would you? Are you a child? You are the parent. You are supposed to teach the child whatever.
Exactly.
Why? If the child has done something wrong, please be a parent and tell the child what it is that they have done wrong.
Age appropriate.
Don't just
ignore
them for whatever days until you what communication skills are you teaching that child?
Very good.
For that child to take into their relationship and parent their own children in the future. It's wrong. You can't. If the child has done something wrong, let the child know. And today I was saying to 2 of the girls, I was saying to you don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water. So in the heat of the moment, if you feel that child has annoyed you so much that you don't want to say things that you will regret later, calm down. You don't need to deal with it. That child is not moving house that same evening.
Exactly, yeah.
So calm down. When you calm down and you can actually plan what it is that you can say to that teenager so that they understand where you are coming from and why
you are upset or why you don't agree with them.
Then it will become a conversation. At least they will say that, oh, my mom or dad wanted me to do this, but I don't agree, but that's what they said. At least you know you've made your point. But ignoring them is not a way of dealing with
that's emotional neglect.
With a teenager. And Uncle was talking about this phone business. Sometimes we dwell on tiny things that are so not important. We have to give them a little bit of leeway and correct them whilst you're giving them a little bit of freedom. You give a little, you correct them, and
you negotiate with them and you talk to them about it.
Age-appropriate negotiation.
Age-appropriate negotiation is very, very important. And I mean, Uncle, and that comes on, because I'm not saying that if sometimes too we give too much love, and that can also become neglectful.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we give too much
love.
We love our child so much that whatever they do, whatever they do is okay. You do it. Oh, it's only whatever. And that becomes very, very dangerous because that child then doesn't understand boundaries. When they go to school, they go out there, someone else says to them no. Then
they don't understand. They become disrespectful.
They become disrespectful and they start misbehaving. So we need to sort of, whilst we are going to love our children, you won't give a 3-year-old a car to drive, would you? You give them your car key and say, "Oh, you drive.
Go and drive.
I want you to be happy." So the same thing goes that yes, of course, you're not going to do that. But with a teenager, you have to discuss things with them. What's in the way that they will understand where you are coming from. And sometimes...
And discussion, having discussion, because our children have reached a stage where sometimes you got to tap in when to talk to them. Or sometimes when they're on their phone, they have discussion. Just allow them. But they come with a topic and you go. Talking about the first issue you talk about. I dealt with somebody recently where the person was so upset with a child, a 7-year-old, going to school because the 7-year-old has caused some havoc in the school. And the person had the meeting and had the audacity to sit down there and say things like, "Oh, I was so upset that when I took her to school, we didn't even say goodbye." And I said to myself, you are the you are the adult. So you didn't say goodbye to a 7-year-old because you have an issue, and the 7-year-old takes that to school and come in. And the door and behold, I did direct work with the 7-year-old later. The 7-year-old told me something because so and so is saying that I'm jealous of my so and so. I also said I'm not jealous, and I also said nasty things to her. That's what the 7-year-old told me. Initially, the 7-year-old did not, because this person has phoned and was trying to talk about the issues. About the point I'm saying is that parents, you deal with parents, whether you are a special guardian, whether if you are dealing with your grandchild and all that, and the other children there, you are in charge. So when there are issues and you are dealing with, separate the issues. The child is going to school. You are so angry. Your duty as a carer, as a grandparent, as a mother, as a father, is to support the child to go to school. You're going to school. When you come, you talk about what happened in the morning. Have a nice day. But to come in as if a dad and a mother who has had a quarrel the night, and you are not walking to say I took the child to school, I didn't even say goodbye. I was so angry. What are you doing to this child?
How are you gonna be angry at a 7-year-old? And then
so
you drop the child at school
with all the tension. Lo and behold, the school picked it up. So there was an incident. That's why I got to know about it. What am I saying? It becomes neglectful because you are a parent, and children test boundaries. Children do things. So my experience and my knowledge with children is that you are in charge. Let them know that sometimes you don't even talk about it, especially school time. You talk about things, it builds up, it delays your thing. If it's safeguarding, you address it, because the mother was talking about, this person was talking about safeguarding issue to another child. You address it, then you take the child to school. When you come in the evening, have a nice day. We talk about things. I love you. You have to do that. But when they come to school, evening and they've eaten and everything settled, then you can sit them down and reflect on that one. But you make the child because you are upset, you are going to work upset, the child is going to school upset.
I mean,
who is benefiting?
I think again I bring it down to culture, and we within our culture, because obviously we are trying to reach out to the people,
but
our own people.
This one also even I like that people.
I know, I understand. I mean, of all of it, all of it. But then, if for me, looking at it from our perspective, our perspective, and how we see things. The young people that we work with, sometimes they talk to us about how their parents react at home and how their parents treat them at home as well. Some people, even though they've traveled here, they should be enlightened, but they are not enlightened, and they're still guided by the previous cultures that they've grown up in. Culture is good. You don't throw culture away. However, you take the good ones and then you refine the ones that you think are not appropriate. And these young people tell us about how they are being treated at home, how their parents are being treated at home. So it's very, very important. That is affecting them. It's in terms of neglect, it's affecting them a lot.
A language. I mean, I heard of a parent telling a child about in a language where Jimmy Pa the parent was saying that to a child, and the child was so upset that the child, because of the child has now walk past the parent or does something and the parent get upset, and the child quoted this language, and I was saying,
and it hurts them. They hurt them.
I said, look, the child might have done it, but remember, when they are teenagers, is that what you're talking about? They are going to rebel. Now they are under your care. They realize that they need the pocket money. They need a place to sleep. Some of them they get to social services because they cause trouble, because I'm not going to stay again, and they call it a first situation where children say, I'm not going home because of A, B, and C. And in a London borough here, an incident happened. A child is going and says something like that, and they were on their back. And sometimes you get some of these other people from other cultures. They are assessing our black children, and once they use that language, say he said it in my language, and they will say it and interpret it. Why is the child lying? The child said it.
They're not lying. They
when
had
you're angry and you are saying things, you got to calm down.
And you insult the father. There's a woman will insult the father or vice versa, and it spills down to the children.
Beautiful young man who, like I said, was taken to care, and within 3 months, he's been moved around for more than 3 or 4 times. And they talked about him and whatever. I said, I need to see this boy for myself. And all that people keep saying is this handsome little boy, but whatever. The long and short thing is, both mother and father, I all have Germans, but they have Ghanaians. And what's happened is that father's left mother, and he is the only boy in the family. I think he's got 3 sisters, and they all ganged up against this poor boy because he looks like his father. And then he says everything he does. Mother says, you are stupid like your father.
Look at this.
You are whatever like your father.
So he will act as a stupid father.
Nothing good will come out of you.
You amount to nothing, just like your father. So for him, why does he have to listen to anything you are saying to him? He's not going to amount to anything. He's like his father.
He will show you the characteristics.
So you show his character. So that is all. So he moved to places. So when I said to him that, who says that? He says, my mother said that. I said, listen, your mother is not God, right? And your mother didn't know. Yes, you came from her, but God created you in his image, and you are special. No one on this planet is like you and whatever. He started laughing at me. He started off, and I could see that he was uncomfortable. What I was saying to him, I said, talk to me, whatever. And we talked. I talked. And then he said that, I said, so how did you end up here? He said, so my sister was hitting me and I fought with her, and my mother called the police and said that I am the
because the person who causes trouble in the home.
And so when they went and spoke to my sisters, they told the truth, saying that, oh, so-and-so was hitting him, and this is what happened. And they said, okay.
And they removed him from the home.
Yeah, yeah. They removed
that also sends another message of rejection.
Yeah.
He's been rejected by his family.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
they removed him from home. And I said, so do you want to go back? And he says, no. And I said, so where is this father that you're talking about?
He probably wants to go and live with his father.
Lives in the same country, just somewhere else. So that's what we did. Just tracing
he
the
probably
father.
didn't even know the father. Mom won't tell him about father, constantly insulting the father.
So we found this father who was happy to take the boy. But he has waited 6 months, being moved from
one place to another,
feeling like whatever.
Feel unwanted,
and the person who broke through was able to get all this thing was because when they were saying that, I said maybe this boy needs a mentor, because I don't know how you all are going to deal with this situation, how he's so unruly everywhere he goes, and people are saying they can't live with him, because the next thing was for him to go to boarding somewhere.
Residential. Residential or
placement, whatever. But when the mentor that we got for him got him talking, and he was such a wonderful person who tried to get him. And now he's with his father. I understand father has got section 20 on him. He lives with your father under section 20 anyway. So so he's doing very well, I'm told. And mother, so sometimes I think that neglect happens when we are so bitter about our own relationship that we have with our partners.
Exactly, yeah.
And we take it out on the children. But the child is an innocent person. Why would you be so angry against your own child? Or even if that is a sub-child, why are you angry about that child? That child has nothing to do with your relationship with your husband or your wife or whatever. So we need to watch that.
That brings us to causes of neglect. I was going to talk about educational as well, because we haven't said anything about educational neglect and how people, what we see, what constitutes educational neglect.
Yeah, but you know, back home, for instance, I know this child that was living with his stepmother.
Yeah.
And that child was a very clever child. But he was never allowed to go to school on time. The school time, he has to go to the farm, get some firewood, which later I heard they weren't even using the firewood. They were using coal pot to cook. So why that boy has to go to the farm in the morning? To go and fetch firewood.
That's sad, you know.
And bring to the house and then fetch water. So by the time that child gets to school, it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or whatever.
And the teacher too will beat him mercilessly. How's this child going?
I was just a rebel. This young woman, and I said, no. So I went to the house. I went to the mother's house, and I said, I didn't know that he was living with his stepmother. I went to the house, and lo and behold, she wasn't there, but her husband's older brother was there. And he says, oh, I understand you are so-and-so's teacher. And I said, yes. And this is the situation. And I don't allow any child to come to my class at 11 o'clock. But he's been constantly coming here. So I'm here to find out what it is that is taking him, whatever. This old man got up and held my knee and kneeled down and says, please. And he called the woman, and they said she's gone out. He says, well, I will deal with that situation. And then when the woman came, they called her. She was chatting with her, and he says, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to destroy my
grandchild?
That child's future and whatever. And that is what stopped it. Because, and from that time on, that child was stopped. I never even knew that child's mother lived in the same whatever. I don't know what that woman got to hear about it. One day I was in school, the lady came and says, oh, I've come to say thank you to you for saving my child. And that is what the woman was doing. And here, too, some people would deliberately not take their child to school on time. If the child has got homework, they won't help the child. And sometimes it's to do with this homework situation that makes some children when they go to school, they get into so much trouble. Because we don't spend time. I'm not saying that if you don't know maths,
teach your child. Because
but
you end up confusing the child.
So you go to parent evening.
But at least provide the child the time. Provide them the time. Provide them the encouragement to do the work. And I know a woman who once said to me, "Oh, I don't understand." I said, "Well, when he brings, let him do whatever he is doing, and follow him to school." And I tell the teacher that I couldn't help him do A, B, C, and D. When the teachers know that you pay particular attention to that child, they will help you.
They help you, yeah. So you work together with the children, even with boundaries and guidance as well. They give you, the teachers have their own plan, and they can share the plan with you. So you and the school will be working together to sing from the same song sheet and to provide that child with appropriate guidance and boundaries. And it works. And you know,
but some of our
children, once they see that you are school is saying the same,
yes, then they shape up, you know.
But
they
shape up. As parents too, I know that one of our children says that her mother got her into trouble because she got herself into trouble. Instead of the mother going to solve the problem, she went to fight with the school as well.
That's a different thing. I mean, if at the school, remember our children stay in school most of their lives. They were 9 to 9 in the morning. It's 9 to 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You're at work, so the last person you want to fight is the school.
Yeah,
exactly.
Never mind if they're discriminating against your child. That's a different issue. You know, but the last person you really want to fight is the school. You need to work together with the school, even address things properly. Remember, we talked about those things. If somebody is dealing, the school is dealing with your child, and they're not dealing with them appropriately or think they're being racist and things, there are ways you can, address them. But you don't go and fight at school. You embarrass your child in the first place.
Exactly.
Your child will be bullied in the second place. Then your child will be stigmatized or will be targeted as well by those teachers because you will be cruel. We are in other people's countries,
and apart from that, like you said, that person is in charge of your child.
Exactly.
In a period where you are not there.
You're not there.
And you know that how maybe your child saw the situation might be different from how
the teacher saw the situation,
So instead of you going in there and asking appropriate questions and say, "Oh, I need to understand what happened,
so I can support my child."
That I can support.
So you go in from an angle where you also do your investigation. Because some of our children can sometimes they can't tell fibs because they know they are in trouble. And when you see that they are doing it, then you can also use the school authorities.
Like you said that all the time you need to work with the teachers. Some of them, yes, they can be very racist towards your child, and you can deal with that in a different way, but not fighting with them. Because when you start, you come across as fighting with them. That is what they take to the next meeting, to the school board, to the head teacher, that the mother or the father was rude to me. So all the issues are swept under the carpet, under the guises of you being rude. And therefore your child is a troublemaker because we can see that the mother or the father is also like that. You see, so it's really, really important.
They will say, the source of the behavior.
Yeah, the behavior. Yeah, definitely. The mom or the father.
Like mother or like the dad.
Yeah, so we need to be very, very careful that in supporting our children, we don't come across as also creating some of the problems because children needs to be corrected. And the school, maybe the way they are going about it, you can also sit and say, "Oh, maybe my child responds well when you do this." Because I remember very well that I was in working in community with this nurse whose child was getting into trouble. Every single day she'll be called. And she said, "Oh, this child is going to kill me," and whatever. And she said all the pattern. I remember saying to her that, "Listen, when you go to the school, just tell them that your child." And I said, she said something about, "Oh, the child likes," and I said, "But why haven't you said that to the school?"
The child likes what?
The child responds better when they've done something and you praise them, right? And I said, "But you should have said that to the teachers." So that they don't send him to the headmaster's office when he's bad, but they send him to the headmaster for praise. So you change
You change that, yeah.
The negative stereotype.
You change the situation for the child. Then you see the change in him. And it took him, I mean, I have forgotten about it. We talked about it, whatever. Then 3 months later, she said, oh, now I understand why you keep saying that you were a teacher before. You understand this. My child now never gets into trouble. He's got all these stars. And I said, you can buy, the school can give the child stars, or you can buy the star and take it to a head teacher when he goes there, and you can have the stick it in whatever.
Because always you want to come home and show 5 stars to mom.
5 stars to mom.
No. Some of the children, they give them this report. They put it under, before they go home, they put it in the bin. Why? Because
they don't want.
Why should I go and tell my mom, my parents that? So they come in and say, oh, we send you this thing report, you didn't do anything. Why are you not sending the praises? So the child also feels that one of the children tell me that day, it's always when I'm doing the bad thing, they talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I say, well, what do you want them to talk about? But when I've helped out the teaching, nobody want to see that. And the child that was a 6-year-old. No, because like he's got energy, so he can do some stuff to other children. So it's like
So sometimes
carers, parents,
we
teachers
need to change. And I remember very well, and this boy is now grown now, and when I said that, I just said that in past. I said, well, but why would they send them? Because for me in Ghana, no one will send you to a head teacher's office. They will punish you there anyway. So I said, but why are they sending him to her? Because it's misbehaved. They should change that. That he should go to the head teacher for praises. So anytime he sees, and I said, because if you keep doing that, that child will also develop this bad feeling towards anytime they see anyone in authority. So you need to change that. So you progress. You progress into something else. So when you change that, then the child sees the authority as the one who praises them, they are bound to work with you. So sometimes as parents, we know our own children, what they will react to proper, how you can change their behavior by working with the school and also by working on yourself. Because sometimes the way that we are talking about the emotional bit, for instance, the name calling, and the name calling. We should stop that. Because especially you, when you were young, you didn't like your mother calling you names. So why do you think your child will love it when you start calling them?
Remember I was saying last time that somebody, my friend, she used to call her son Iguan. Iguan means sheep. Sheep. So this child was so hyperactive. Mom didn't like going anywhere with him. So each time he was passing by, they say, hey, Iguan Braha. Hey, Iguan Braha. And I fought against it. I go for no you. Then the child will be doing Iguan behavior. So I fought against that name. I wasn't in social work then. But then I was just, angry that you can't call a child that. Child is not Iguan. Every day Iguan Braha, Iguan this, Iguan that. This child is grown and married and everything. But my point is, why would you call your child that? And then if they start to live that, you start to question why. So we have to be very careful about the utterances to our children as well. That constitutes emotional neglect.
There's this young boy who says that anytime a mother comes home, he says,
"Oh,
look at this."
Can you imagine?
I mean,
and you just said it. And what is the motivation? I mean, what do you get as a parent? It's not a joke. It's not a joke because. And
then the child will say, I've got a name. Because there is disrespect you then. I've got a name. If you can't call me by my name, then don't call me at all.
But when he said
I was a victim of angry parent and the same thing.
When he said that
man over there.
That's why
I said that man got a name.
He says that, when he says that, even if I'm walking down the stairs, I'll go back into my room and not respond because that's not my name. And the others will say, oh my goodness, whatever. But
you've let the child develop that kind of attitude. So let's look at indicators, signs and indicators before we come to impact, where we can talk about things like what the child now develops. So we look at the, for example, physical side and see, some of the indicators of neglect. Here I've got child comes up smelly, dirty and smelly, which we had in Victoria Claimby, of course.
And with babies, they can be failure to thrive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they will not be growing properly.
When the child has unwashed clothes, some children go to school smelly of urine. The child, I mean, I remember if you go and do visits at home, even sometimes, we have some, especially the boys. You have boys who are older, like 11, 12, and they still wet the bed. Some children, some young people, even in secondary school, still wet the bed.
Yeah. And if it's a medical problem,
and if
you got to solve it along the line.
Exactly.
Because sometimes they hide things. I've heard about children who, or I've dealt with children who were in a home because he had an issue, and this was even a teenager who has been to, he was put inside somewhere, and they have to bring him to a home while they were resolving it. Not knowing that he was bedwetting. I don't know whether they did it to him when he was at the so he was bedwetting, and when something happened outside and they have to come and search his stuff, the stuff this boy has put under the bed at the back there, because I think he was going to do it and wash it later or whatever, but it wasn't like
they hide it because obviously there's negative impact in the home itself. The parents will.
I think that when you all are doing any assessment, and a child who is older and bedwetting is a big marker
of sexual abuse.
Yeah, apart from sexual abuse, any form of abuse happening, because children transgress when regress when something happens. So a child, it may not be sexual abuse, but serious neglect,
different types of abuse,
will let a child just go back to become
a child, infant.
Sometimes they are even watching a program, television program, and they see and that brings memory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes they are talking about
and sometimes when they see, even some. I had this young woman, even when she sees, because she's gone through this neglect so serious that even when she sees someone shouting at someone. And it's not shouting at her. She gets so frightful.
The impact,
that day, she will actually wet her bed. She gets so frightful like that. So those children like that who are wetting their bed, apart from the physical that you get them, what do you call it? The continence monitor, which will help them. They need proper psychological referral to deal with the psychology behind whatever. Because if it's a child who has got medical problem, often it doesn't take 6 weeks. You can cure that. Most of them, it takes only a spray. They only need to have a squirt of a spray in their nose every night before they go to sleep. And often within 6 to 8 weeks, it'll be gone because it's lack of a home on that day and approval. And most of them get cured unless they have got physical problems. That's why it's happening. And also some of them, I know this young woman who was wet in bed, but when I did the history back, this was years ago on our officer, I realized that her father was wet in bed when he was 21. So with her problems, putting her onto medicines, this medicine,
just whatever, it could be.
It wasn't helping her grandmother, whatever. And I sat with them and asked them, where is the father? What is whatever? And then the mother didn't say it in front of her mother, but as we were going, she was walking with me. She said, "So funny you asked that question. When I was with whatever, he used to wet the bed, and he was over 22 years of age.
A whole man of 22.
Yeah. So.
And he had a wife.
A girlfriend. So I then said to them that then that is your cue. That means that it's something she will change, but it will take some time. So I had to find out. It said so. It started telling off when he was 22, 23. By the time I was 25, he stopped. It was uncomfortable though to tell the girl that we've tried, because we put her. I was so concerned. I gave her the alarm. Took her to hospital.
Don't drink before bed.
No drink before bed is not a good thing, because often what happens is that when the person is so tense and they haven't drunk enough through the day, when they don't drink, a little bit of urine in your stimulates the bladder for you to pee, because you have the urine is so concentrated. So it's better for them to drink reasonably before they go to bed. So you don't want them to have a liter of water going to bed, but at least if they can have a cup of a drink, if they feel like it, to go. And the alarm tends to help a lot of children, because a little bit, some of these alarms, they can sense a little bit of urine on the thing. He will go hey, 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 hey for the child to get up to go and use the loo. But for me, anyone who is wet in bed, they need a psychology behind it. We need to understand if they are,
and when they are older.
When they are older, the older ones, they definitely do need to find out what it is, what is causing it.
The other thing is the inadequate clothing. If a child goes to school in we've said that before, right from the onset, in terms of even not having winter clothes, inappropriate clothing for the weather. For example, is winter time and the child is wearing summer clothes. No, they go out and the child is not dressed. That's why we always look at whether the child is dressed appropriately for the weather. Especially in this country. You'll be
surprised in this country, this young lady, winter time, her children went to school in t-shirt and some of them were not even wearing shoes.
That's neglect. So if your child is going to school in a cold, freezing weather,
even if it's the t-shirt is there and the farm is there, so that they're going to go for PE or something, that's different. And with the weather is changing, they're doing it indoors. But there's also this issue about failure to thrive. Come crisis where children were born premature, and they could not born with the parents because they had their own issues, or the mom had her own issues, and because of that, these twins were neglected to the extent that they will poo in the night, and instead of the parent or the parents sorting it out, they locked them up in the room. So they were crying till somebody phoned, and when the person phoned and they were removed, or the police had to go in there, police took about half an hour to negotiate to bring the children. And when the children were brought from their room to sit there, frozen watchfulness, where the child sat like this.
That's it.
They sat like that. They were put there, and they sat like that and looked straight. Not faced by the people who were around. And show how severe this neglect. When the children moved to a place, you could see how neglectful they were, because the father in the past, when they were eating, the parents were there, they stopped because they were being watched. These are children. They are not even under 5. They are under 4 now. But they were wearing 2 years clothes. It shows how neglectful they have been. So this one is extreme.
Some don't get shoes to wear. And I remember 5 children that we removed from their parents, their mother. The children were going to school in the winter, and this country. One or 2 of the children were going to school with holes in the sole of the shoe. And the child would be walking like this, and they had sore all over the foot. So I had to remove those children from the mother. She fought and fought, but eventually we obviously got the children. But in this country, you're getting benefits. But
this young woman that I'm talking about, she had 5 children. We had to remove them because the children were going to school. 2 of them didn't even have the shoe because he says the shoe is broken or whatever. And winter time, 2 of them walked barefooted to school, and the other 3, their shoes were no good. They were in t-shirts, no jackets. Yes, and the mother had the cheek of telling me that the school is just across the road.
So it's okay
that
for
tells
them
you
to go back.
The lack of
insight.
So it's across the road. So even if it's in your house and the other children coming to the school, you got to do appropriate things.
Can you imagine?
So she said, well, it's just across the school. Why are you so fatty? Everything you have to complain about.
That's what she was telling you.
That's what she said. That's what she said. She said, why are you? And me and that woman, if I write a book about that woman, people will say that I'm making some of the stories up, because that woman, and she was young, believe me, that time she was only 26 with 6 children. And if I tell you some of the stories, you will think that, you are making some of whatever. Because this is a woman that I could be minding my business at home on Saturday, and I could get a phone call from the police saying that the woman is in custody and says that they should call me. I should
During the week, no work was done. You have to work weekend. Sort her problem for her.
Sort her problem for her. Oh, okay. That I tell you. So there are some people, and this one, for instance, yes, when we are talking about, there are some people genuinely, because of their mental state or because they've got learning disability, they can't understand. But this woman has got full capacity. There's nothing wrong with her. But it's just that she can't be bothered, and all that she needs from her perspective, all that she needs is that she'll get her drink, get her smoking, and the children can fend for themselves. Why? But then later it transpired that she has come from social service care as well. So perhaps when she started having the children before I got there, something should have been done. Maybe she should have been sent to parenting and whatever. And I don't know what's happened till I hear there's she has 6 children. And if I tell you how many children that people have given to me, if I had taken all of them, she's one of those. She said, if you want them, you can take them. You can take them. You can take them home.
You got to go through a process.
If you like, take them home. If you think I'm not doing any work, you can take them home.
And they tell you at the time, you can't do anything, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then, so we take a small break.
Yes, so
we take a small break and come back because we have 7 already, and we got a long way to go to discuss a few things before we wrap up. So thank you very much for listening and watching us, and we're taking a few minutes break and we'll be back shortly. Thank you and stay tuned.
Work a miracle in my heart. Work a miracle in my heart. Work a miracle in my heart. Today.
welcome back. Thank you very much for sticking with us. You're watching the COP UK Radio, Community Welfare Matters. We've been talking about the topic, what constitutes neglectful parenting. And we've said a lot. We've said about the definition of neglect and the causes of neglect and the types of neglect. Just before we went on break, we talked about the physical neglect, so signs that you will see when a child is being neglected physically. What about medical? You know, medical. When a child is neglected, what are some of the signs you will see?
Yeah, I mean, Auntie was talking about earlier about sometimes you go and get medication, and if it's antibiotics, you go to do the course. So the parent refuses to do it or give the whole course.
Yeah.
And because of that, the child might be, but it comes again, reoccurring. Or sometimes parents might say, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, I don't do this. So this type of medication or this part of blood transfusion or whatever, I'm not doing it. But you got to find an alternative because you have the right as a parent to see, all right, if they have been diagnosed and you are refusing, what do you think?
So they will say because of their religion. We're not stigmatizing any religion. We're not mentioning any religion. We say because of their religion, they're not allowing medical treatment.
Operation or particular procedure.
Yeah.
Then you got to also ask them to say, because yes, recently there have been issues where other parents will say, I want to go and try, and they are saying. So in neglect, that's where we were talking about that. Sometimes, yes, you may have passion about certain things, but also you got to sit down, and yes, the medical people might get it wrong sometimes or might have a different perspective. You also have to come up to say, right, can we try this, and put your case across. But if it becomes, I don't want to do this because I'm not giving them immunization or I'm not giving the blood transfusion, and as such, the evidence that the child could die or the child could suffer an illness, then they become neglectful.
Last time I gave a woman a lift, and she was telling me that when she was young, her parents used to, and this woman was from Ghana, and she said her parents used to. Her parents' religion, and this is not Jehovah's Witness, but in her parents' religion, you do not access doctor services or medical services. And they had to go through my issue is that as parents, I was thinking and I'm thinking, this could not be the child's choice, because she said to me, I've changed, and I realized the risk that our parents put us through, because when after she's become an adult, she doesn't want to follow that religion. She stopped. She doesn't follow that religion at all. So if she had died, for example, if she died or she had a big some kind of illness and she needed treatment, and because of these parents' religion, it's very, very important that we think about these things, because of your religion, you're not allowing your child. If your child was standing before you today as an adult, would the child then say yes or no? The child might want to live.
But I mean, talking about that, Uncle, you mentioned about this immunization. I remember years ago
immunization
when
well.
This woman said that she doesn't want to immunize her children because she thinks that it's harmful and she's taking some herbs. And unfortunate for her, I would say that's unfortunate for her. All her children develop whooping cough. That's the first time I heard of someone who's had whooping cough. And I thought, oh my goodness, these children are going to die. And these 3 children had to be admitted to hospital, they had to be treated. And the stress that she went through, when she came back, it was then that she's learned her lesson. And then she started bringing the children in and saying, she wants them immunized, right? But she is lucky and unlucky at the same time. But she's lucky in the sense that she had the chance of coming back, and she had a chance of the children. Some people are not that lucky.
Because I've seen parents who refuse immunization for their children. You are exposing your children to smallpox, chickenpox, tuberculosis, all of these things, just because of your own belief. What they seem to forget is that it is your belief, and you're imposing it on this child. Once you bring this child to this world, this child is an individual. You're just a caretaker for this child. You're not here to kill the child. You need to do what is right for the child. And you have to picture, if the child child were to be an adult making decision or having this Gaelic competence, is this child going to say yes, I want this treatment or not?
Well, you know, some of this, I mean, we are talking some of these children, because I remember some years ago where this young girl, she and the mother doesn't even go to one of those churches that they don't accept medical thing. But I don't know where her and her mother got this idea from. The girl, she's the youngest person ever, the young woman, the youngest person ever I've seen with breast cancer. And she was just about 15, 16 years.
Oh, dear.
And her mother didn't allow her to seek medical help. So by the time I was told about this girl who lives whatever, because the nurses were having problems going in to do, now she has got fungating breast cancer wound. And she was in so much pain. And when they go and dress this wound, and you know, breast cancer wounds smells. They smell really, really bad. And this young woman, and I said,
boobs has not even finished developing. Oh, no, that's really sad.
That was really, really sad. And
so where is the girl now?
Oh, she died.
Oh,
she died because her mother would.
Because sometimes when it's found earlier and we treated.
Of course, yeah.
But apart from that, I mean, for me, the reason why I met her was the fact that the nurses who were treating her, she came in, and this woman is Jehovah's Witness, but she came, sat with me, and she started crying. And I said, what's up? She says, I've got to tell you this because I've done this job for somebody. I've never come across this thing, and I don't know how to deal with this. I don't mind if you come with me. Maybe you make sense to them, because at least.
And the child was so also involved.
Yeah,
she does, because
yeah,
the
because
mom has brainwashed her.
She said to the girl that I need to talk to you without your mother being there. And she said in her first assessment, she said, well, you're old enough. Your mother can sit where, we need to talk. And she said, I tried to sort of convince her, saying that you need to get proper medical help and get something to control your pain. But I got to a point that she felt that the girl was in so much pain. And she burst out crying, and she said, and she is a person who is nursing the person, and she said, I've never cried like this before, but I can't, because this is a young girl, and it's unfortunate
got her own life ahead of
that
her.
But her mother has brainwashed her to the extent that she doesn't want to listen to what I'm saying. And we couldn't get a breakthrough. She died when she was about 16 and a half or whatever. We didn't get a breakthrough. Her mother watched her daughter to die. And sometimes you are asking yourself that, what kind of a parent is this?
She herself has been, I mean, it's like cult, isn't it? Cultism, where people are brainwashed. She herself has been brainwashed somehow. Yeah. And also, when you look at, in terms of medical, the most common one is dental treatment. Treatment. In our culture, again, I keep bringing back to our culture, we don't go to the dentist.
Yeah,
most people don't. Now they're probably doing it now.
Yeah.
Even now, not even back home, here as well. People will not normally take the children to the dentist until they are
they've got pain or something.
They've got pain or something. But you need to take your child for dentist appointments, and also to see the optician.
Yeah.
But they don't do that. And you can.
I mean, it's just not even us, because even within the white whatever,
people
they
don't
will say
take
to you that we're afraid of the dentist chair or whatever. But it's really important. It's a good point that you said. Really important for me. The dentist could wait. The eye. Because some of these children are failing in school because they can't see. And they haven't had an eye test. So no one knows they have got a problem.
So that they can even be positioned in the right place in the classroom.
In classroom. So they are failing. And some of them, I always say to parents that, especially if you have a child, often we make it mandatory, but some parents don't take them. If you have a child who was born not breathing, and we try, and some of the children, it's not that they've arrested, but the nose is blocked, we use machine, suck, whatever, and then the child will start breathing again. But those of them who are born like that, it's often we insist that they get their hearing test as well, especially if they were born flat. Those who were born not breathing, and we have to resuscitate them to get them going. Sometimes you rub them very, very hard, and then their heart starts beating. We often want them to have hearing check as well. But some of the parents, oh, the child is okay. They will never,
fine,
if you send them 2 or 3 appointments, they will never respond to it until they realize the child has got problem when they go to school. When it's a bit late, when we could have dealt with the problem. Yes, now they will deal with it, but you've caused the child a harm for the 4 whatever years that they couldn't. And sometimes, talking about medical, sometimes the biggest thing I always say, and some years ago I said that in this church, someone, and the mother was so unhappy with me. One thing I say that if your child is over 1 year and you're still giving them that feeding bottle, it is big neglect. They need to use feeder cup. They need to
even with the drinks as well.
Yeah, with the drink,
so that's why I'm
everything. They
talking
need
about
to use
teeth.
feeder.
Teeth, sweet, giving the children sweets and all
those
that,
things. But apart from that, sometimes the children don't talk because of that dummy or the teeth in their mouth all the time. They don't need to have that in their mouth. And the reason why, when you go, you see your health center, it says, oh, give the child feed-up cup from 8 months onwards. It's to do with their speech, because the child needs to chew. They need to exercise their tongue so that their speech will develop properly. So if you keep that thing in their mouth all the time, apart from giving them teeth decay, you are also damaging their chance of being able to speak properly. Right?
Speech and language development.
So it's really, really important that we think about that and not think that, oh, they are being particular. I'm not saying don't give your child dummy if that's what you, but it shouldn't be in their mouth all the time.
To keep them quiet so that they can go on the phone.
Yeah, that's exactly. It shouldn't be the babysitter for you. Yeah, but it's true. The dummy has become the babysitter. They have the dummy in their mouth.
It's interesting. I phoned somebody on WhatsApp today, and the person said, "Are you in Ghana?" He says, "Why? Because it's free." Now WhatsApp is free, so everybody.
An old lady called it. We know.
Neglecting the children.
Yeah, I've got this old lady who called the dummy. She called it gobstopper. Exactly what you're saying. It says gob. Oh, they put those gobstopper in their mouth so that they won't speak. They won't make any sound. So you can. There are petty things that we do that we don't think about, which are neglectful in a way. You are not helping your child to develop in a manner that they should develop, because you're stopping them exercising their jaw and their tongue and whatever. And some of them, because that we are talking about loving your child so much that the child, is time for the child to eat, but you give them milk because you think that is how you are looking your child well. Instead, you come across some parents, when it's time to give the child proper food, they say, oh, well, they love their child so much that they have to keep on the milk, which in a way doesn't help the child to grow properly. Sometimes they affect their weight, sometimes affect their speech, sometimes so there are so many things that are the reasons why when your health visitor or your doctor tells you that the child needs to move on from just drinking the milk to solid foods. You have to do it, not just wait around, and sometimes the child come to you at 18 months. The child is so anemic that you have to put them on iron a supplement, all because the mother couldn't be bothered to start the child on weaning and whatever. And people forget that when you don't start the weaning at the right time, the child becomes a fussy eater, because the child gets this thing in them saying that, well, I don't need to chew any longer, I don't need to do anything, you give me the milk. So it's really, really important that we don't love our child so much that it becomes neglectful.
And I think it's also about the conscious way of dealing with it, because sometimes you got to kind of be open to it, because that's why when the children are young, go to health visitor and you telling them, because sometimes parents don't tell health visitors and health professionals about what's happening around them or what they are not doing. Yeah. So, for instance, when you have a child and you drink Coke and you want to give the child the Coke,
yeah,
or from young age they become addicted.
Yeah.
So there are some children, you go, no water.
They
no
give
juice.
you know the children that what really gets me in the mornings when I'm going to work, and then you see on the parents taking the children to school. The children haven't had breakfast at home, and then they go and they're eating chocolate in the morning. They're eating chocolate croissant with this massive chocolate on it. I'm thinking, is it not too early to eat chocolate at this time? You're going to school in the morning. You should have fed this child. You should have woken up early. This is lack of routine. There's no routine at home. So if you had routine, you would have woken up early, made some nice, proper, healthy breakfast for your child. But they're going on their way. Let's go, keep going. And they're just feeding.
Can't be bothered. There's nothing wrong with a plain old Rice Krispies or cornflakes. But
the child is eating chocolates or sweets on the way to school in the morning.
And a bit of banana or an apple.
Of course.
And why do you have to go and buy them this? And then later, it becomes a problem for the child. And then you, the same parent, are complaining that the child doesn't eat healthy food. But you have not given that child any healthy food to eat. But the Coke, that one you're talking about, I know this young man I used to work with. A day he would drink this Coke, maybe about 3 or so liters of Coke. And he was a grown man. He didn't whatever. And we started to win him off by sort of laughing, and we used to hide his drinks. And like you're saying, he says, oh, my mother brought me up on Coke. So when he was little, he's been drinking this. So he's grown up to be a grown man. He doesn't know how to get himself off unless he started working with us. And we used to hide his drinks, and people used to say, drink water, it won't kill you. And so sometimes we do certain things that we think we are being, and also we are looking after Brofuma, so they don't need to eat.
Our children have been born here, so we are treating them like whatever children. I don't want to say, but let's just move on to this. So some of the examples are untreated injuries and medical. Untreated injuries, medical and dental issues, repeated accidental injuries caused by lack of supervision. You said that already, and that if you do that, you get social services involved in your life, because somebody will come knocking on your door. If you get to A&E, the law says A&E should call social services if the injuries is not explained properly or it's not consistent. The point is,
what such parents, some parents are very, very clever. What they do is that what they do is they take the child to, this is A&E. They've closed a lot of the A&Es. But years ago, when all the A&Es were open all around, the person lives in, let's say, Town Hamlets. That's where I know very well. The person will go to London Hospital with one injury. The following time, they will go to, it used to be in St. Andrews. They will take the child to St. Andrews.
And then the next time, but now you have the real centralized system.
But those times, then they will go to Newham General. Then from there, they will go to Homerton. Then they used to go around like that. But even those days, it would take it took some time before it gets to the health visitor. Still, we used to get it. Most of those medical injuries, for instance, used to be, it was the health visitors who used to highlight them, because everywhere they go, even if they went to Scotland, they will still write to you, the health visitor, with a slip, what they saw the child with. So you realize that this child has been to Scotland, has been to Wales, has been to all with
maybe
this.
You said they went on holiday.
And then you go in and you ask them, how come your child is so accident prone? Or you go to the house and you see the reason why this child is accident prone. Because you can get a mother who will tell you, oh, that child entertained himself. How can a 1-year-old entertain himself and you, the parent, you're also sitting somewhere? So then you realize that there's something not quite right. And the mere fact that that person chose to go around different hospitals is alarm bells in itself. Because they should be going to the same place so that someone will pick them up and record them.
And record them and,
Yeah,
and
so
put
if
them, pull it together. Yeah.
So if they tend to go to 1 or 2 different hospitals, then as a officer, it is an alarm bell for you. Then you need to sort of do something about it. Yeah, you need to do something about it.
Okay, so let's move on to the last bit where it talks about, again, missed medical appointments such as vaccinations. We've talked about that already. And skin sores, rashes, fleas and bites. And scabies and ringworm. All of these symptoms are neglectful parenting types of symptoms. And you have the thin or swollen tummy. Like, is that the kwashiorkor thing? Or anemia. And tiredness.
That's what I was saying, that woman presented her child with so anemia.
Lack of food,
Anemia said that we thought that the child had leukemia, you know. The child, he presented this child to clinic. The child looked so pale, looked weak, looked whatever. And it was because her friend, I think her friend suspected something wasn't right, So she coaxed her and said, oh, I'm going to the clinic, come. The people are so nice, they will talk to you. So here I was, poor me, sitting in my office, and they called me from downstairs, so-and-so wants to see you, the woman who brought their friend. And I come down, and she says, oh, my friend child, he doesn't look well, but she won't come. But I said, you are nice, so be nice to her. If you look at the child, his hair is like falling out. And I said, oh, how long has the child been unwell? Oh, he doesn't eat, and I do everything. You know, when I present that child to the doctors, they all thought he had leukemia. When we did the blood test,
it was malnutrition.
It was malnutrition. It was malnutrition.
Some of these children, you can get those milk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where because I've dealt with some children now where because they're going to have some major operation, they have been on, and gradually they can't take the food. But they got that kind of thing, and it's helping up. So in this country, you have to go and seek advice. You got to take them to get. Other than that, it's become neglectful.
Let's look at the effects of neglect then, where it talks about. If I just summarize a little bit of it talks about children who are neglected, they learn to look after themselves. They become tough. They learn to look after themselves. They fear becoming dependent on other people. And that you can see from when they grow up, I think they become very uncompassionate people. They take it to their marriages. And they have no compassion for other people. At all. So just sometimes I'm not so I'm not generalizing. I'm not so sometimes I stand corrected. But some people are selfish. They're in there because they've learned to grow up to be defensive, and they are not compassionate at all. They grow up even if they're married, they're still in the marriage, but they're thinking about themselves.
Well, but the point
is, it's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense mechanism.
And sometimes they feel that, and sometimes talking about the long-term effect, some of the people, you can't even go close to them because they have had their own issues.
They become very emotionally withdrawn,
detached,
emotionally detached about issues, very insensitive.
In forming relationships, they become,
But that's what I was saying, that it's difficult when you've been neglected. Because what have you learned from other people said that you can also share with someone? They don't have it. So, and you can't ask someone who don't have something to give you. So that is a problem that some of them will have. Some people, they are lucky. They get into a place where people start nurturing them, because I know someone who said that sat in my house in this country and said to me that I've never he said, oh, he wants a cup of coffee, and I said, oh, do you want milk? He said, so funny, I've only started the taste of milk since I started university. And I said, oh, are you allergic? Do you have lactose intolerance? He says, no, I never had a chance of drinking milk. And in this country, milk is everywhere. Would you think that someone has grown up here? And then he followed on and told his story and blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, it's true, my friends, that I've tasted cheese and I've tasted all those things. And this is a white guy.
This child fell through the net.
Exactly. Yeah.
He fell through the net because nobody. He fell through the net. Yeah.
And
the parents were very good in hiding the neglect.
Hiding him and whatever. And he says that. And he says that, oh, all these people, meaning he came and I think he didn't belong to his own white group and felt that all these black boys and girls who've come from West Indies and in Africa, at least they were also don't know the system very well. So he became very friendly with them. He was part of their group, right? But everything, he's never experienced that. So there were the people sort of teaching him and saying that, oh, you can't do this. And he himself, he said, oh, I've never experienced that. And he sat in my house and he was such a good artist. He drew a picture of my husband while he was sitting down there, whatever. And he said, and he was saying that, oh, you should have seen me a year ago. I didn't have any social skills. I wouldn't have come here. But so and so says that you are very, very good and blah blah blah. And he will tell you, like you're saying, that he says, I have to stop myself sometimes when we are doing things from thinking that I'm on my own. I need to defend myself. He says that he has to constantly remind himself about that. And for him, he's lucky. He got into this group and they took him to a church, and the church was the pastor there was trying to nurture him and trying to bring him out of those neglects. And that's how I came to know him, was him telling me how they talked to him about Jesus Christ who can heal wounds and whatever. And if I had seen him a year before, people see him now and they think, oh, so you have got a smile, so you can relate to people. He says, you know, I never felt that I belong with any group. So, and it's sad when you think about it, that even within this system, someone can just fall through the net, and it happens that he says that the only way that he could run away from home is to get himself into a university, because that's the only way he can leave home. So when he got a chance to go to university, he went somewhere further away from home. So that
looking at the long,
not going back.
looking at the long term, it really, I think it's happening a lot, and sometimes people don't realize it. Like, and I'll go back to marriages, people's marriages. Most of the marriages that break now, some of them that break down or don't work properly, and there are issues with it, and some women are in the marriages unhappy and stuff like that. It's because of that the partner, the other party, be the man or the woman, had a very neglectful childhood and upbringing. And in our part of the world, you strive, you suffer to really gain, look after yourself. So you've grown up, you've gone into this marriage with that mentality of self. You don't work in partnership with your wife or husband, and then nothing is working. You don't know how to be to support your children. You don't know how to support yourself. All you think about is you. You don't know how to support your own wife, and it becomes. And even if the wife is showing you love and commitment, you still reject it because that's not what you know. That's not what you know.
And I think sometimes that's why when you do kind of self-evaluation, and sometimes you realize that you are not giving, you are suffering, and it's affecting your children.
And it really does break a home.
They start fighting back when you're growing. Then you got to sit down to say, I need help.
But do you think a Ghanaian man will ask for help? They don't.
Well,
they don't accept it. The person doesn't even. The people don't even realize they have issues. They recognize it.
Young woman's story that I read. She says she's in Italy or whatever. She said something which was, she said that growing up she was neglected, she was abused, and when she was, from her perspective, from 10 years up to now, she's never had a parent to parent her.
Yeah.
And she said that, so when I got into a relationship and the person took me to Italy, I associated myself with people who I can see that their life is going okay, because I realized that. And this woman, and I read her story and I thought, what a wonderful person. She can actually see what is wrong with her, what is broken in her. She said that, so I started learning. When I see people, she said that when she got there and she didn't have any children, she would say to this person that, oh, can I look after your child for you? She said, at first, I would say, no, I don't want you not to be there, because she says, I don't know what to do. So I started learning. If I see how people are looking after their children and I like it, I note it down. And she said, one day she will write her memoirs and people will not even believe and whatever, but she's only saying a little bit of it. She said, everything I've learned looking after my children in marriage and whatever, it's about copying other people, looking at them. And it says, so when I got married, I was bold enough to tell my husband that, listen, I've never had a parent. I've never had anyone love me. So if you say you love me, I will make mistakes. You need to tell me. When I am not listening to you, please don't just say she's not listening, so I'm just leaving her because. And she said, I told him that because if you do that, that will be the last person who has loved me and neglected me. And I don't know what is going to happen to me. And anyway, the story, she says she's had 3 children now. And she said, I'm struggling. I'm learning and I'm going to whatever. She says she's been to parenting classes just to learn about it. When she got pregnant, she booked herself into parenting classes for people to teach her. But she realized that you have to do it to learn it. Just go in and people telling you have to do it like this. And the reason why she was telling her story is that her child is going to be 10 years and she sees that from 10, 11, 12, that's the
those
time
are
that
the
she
challenging years,
a parent. So those are going to be the challenging times. She wants people to advise her, people to help her and support her children. She doesn't want her children to be broken like she was broken when she was grown up. So we need to realize, because this young woman, she's realizing herself. And she's doing something about it, so you can be a woman or a man or whatever. Everyone has gone through different situations in life, and everyone has got different temperaments.
I know a person who went through that situation because both parents died.
Yeah.
So in that sense, there are no other family members who will be able to support.
Yeah.
So this young man struggled all his life to to look after himself. And he's got married now. He's just a very uncompassionate person.
Yeah.
But then you have to unlearn those behaviors as you go along.
Yeah.
You've learned these things throughout these defensive mechanism as you're growing up. But if you don't unlearn those behaviors, then it impacts on your own children, your relationship with your children. It impacts on them. But in our culture, they don't learn.
Yeah, but they need,
they don't accept and recognize the difficulties.
There are a lot of services out there that will support people, right? Some are paid, some are not paid.
Yeah.
But I would say to anyone, if you've gone through a situation like that and grown up and you're struggling, to have compassion and to have feeling for any other person because you don't see, because it's not your fault. You were a child and it was done to you. No one is saying it's your fault. But as an adult, you've got to do something with it because now you have got power to change that situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And therefore, you need to change it and better yourself. Because otherwise, you are going to be in a relationship. You are loved, but you will never see that love. And therefore, you will not experience
you
love.
Reciprocate that love.
You
will just make your wife miserable and the children miserable and you ruin your home. So it's important to I'm talking to some people. So it's important to really listen and try and make those changes. On that note, I think that thinking about it, I think that police officer who beat that woman probably was neglected as a child.
And
that man needs to be
what I've heard
arrested.
about is his family had the audacity to say he should be forgiven. It's not like that and all that kind of
He should be
nonsense.
forgiven.
I'm
for
sure
what?
he beat his wife at
Oh,
home
yes,
because
that behavior
he found
in
it
public.
so easy to beat up a woman who
with
was
a child.
holding a
Holding
Holding a
baby.
child.
Look, I've come across another time. Maybe you talk about those things because I wrote a piece because recently in my degree course in my back at home we have a platform and it became a topic and we were all writing things. I brought it from the manager up to the person. I said everybody is responsible. Everybody who was there needs to be
disciplined.
for customer care
Customer
and
care.
need to discipline. Everybody
Need to be
was
You
disciplined.
wonder what their
The
professional
bank
ethics are.
staff from
I
the
like-
bank
go and collect
manager,
the child from there.
from the bank manager down to that man,
shame.
because it's a shame.
And I'd like to see the
outcome.
training, the training that the police officers get as well. Those professional ethics and
Professional ethics
values and things.
Oh.
It would be interesting to
You
see
calm this
what,
woman down, take the
you
child,
know, how,
support her.
yeah.
I mean, she is
Who
holding
are
a
you?
baby, for goodness sake.
yeah.
I was so upset.
He beat her so much
Oh,
that
you are not
he
the only
even
person.
he
I
beat
couldn't
her
watch
so
it.
much that he
Somebody
even
was showing- I
he
couldn't watch. I was
tripped
so
it on the
upset.
floor.
I
He
couldn't watch
tripped
the
on
whole
the
thing.
floor. He actually tripped. If it
But
wasn't
Ghana,
for
what have happened to him? Maybe he's happy.
no,
No,
they've
this one,
expelled him. This one, there's no. We don't need to even investigate.
No, that's right.
The evidence is
there.
glaring.
I was also controversial. I said, what was the motive of the person who was recording it? Because it was CCTV.
Yeah.
It wasn't CCTV. So
Well,
whoever recorded
there's
it.
other people there. I mean, that.
So you are recording it. Did you support the woman?
You bank staff who sit in the bank and steal other people's money. Someone is coming to collect their money. You have the audacity to go and call.
But
someone
you
to
know
come
what
and do-
happened as well. My understanding is that
Anyway, can you
that
finish
this
this?
was the. Oh
Can
no,
you
we
run
like
time?
at this stage. It's turned into something else. But listen, it's been a very interesting discussion.
So we were
and
deviating a bit.
yeah, we were deviating. No, but we're not deviating.
No,
We're
it's about
deviating.
neglect.
I think
Because
that
the
guy
impact.
was neglected as
Yeah,
a
he was
child.
neglected, so-
As a
so
child,
next
that's
time
why
somebody
he
can bring
found
that topic and we
it.
talk
He
about
found
that
it
man.
so
That police
easy.
officer.
He found it so easy to beat
beat
up a
another
woman.
woman
In
with a
fact, he's a
child.
perpetrator at home.
Even if
So
you are beating a woman, it's not forgivable
Yeah.
with a child.
With
Yeah.
a child.
yeah,
Oh my
there
God.
were no,
The only person who was compassionate was a man who came and said, "Oh, madam,
Mami
please."
Ndi Akola,
Mami
no.
Ndi Akola.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, what is
that's so
And I'm thinking,
unacceptable.
there are women, and often the tellers are women.
Mhm.
You are women sitting down there and looking at someone beating this poor woman.
Instead of them to come together and beat that police man,
Hey, stop.
but he's got a
Calm down,
uniform
calm
on. So I don't know. You know what? Let's not go into it. But we just want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening. We'll be with you again next week, and we'll come with our topic later on. But thank you very much for joining us, and catch up later. Remember, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll send you the clip again. So thank you very much. Until next week, it's the Community Welfare Matters.
All right.